Hello. This week in Britain, a name appeared in the newspapers that you in America almost certainly will never have heard. And the truth is, indeed, that most British people have not heard it either. That name is Morgan McSweeney. Now, Morgan McSweeney is not a member of the government. He doesn't sit around the cabinet table. He's not a minister. He's not a member of parliament, nor is he an elected official or a civil servant. Yet in the shadowed corridors of our politics, here's perhaps one of the most powerful men in the country. McSweeney is the Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer's chief strategist, the architect of Labour's rise, and he was their general election campaign manager in the last election. So it was arguably he who determined that the Labour Party would be victorious in that election and that the Labour Party now governs the country. And yet, outside Westminster, the name means very little indeed. McSweeney can walk the streets unrecognised. You would probably pass him in the aisle of a supermarket and think him nobody at all. You certainly wouldn't recognise him. And I don't think he'd take particular offence if I were to say that he is a somewhat nondescript and unremarkable man to look at. Yet still, this week, there was a story. It was a story of £730,000 concealed in an alleged case of electoral fraud. Only allegations, nothing proven and nothing resolved. But perhaps there was enough there to suggest that if ever there was an investigation, the consequences could be quite grave for both Mr. McSweeney and the government. Indeed, they're not off the hook. A police investigation could still be launched. So for a day or two last week, the reports flickered across the headlines, but then they vanished. They vanished beneath talk of a digital identification card, Labour's upcoming party conference, and the Prime Minister's perhaps diversionary attacks on Nigel Farage and his Reform UK party. And in Britain, as you will learn if you haven't already, that vanishing act from the headlines sometimes is the most telling thing of all. Because you see, here is one of the paradoxes. Britain delights in the theatre of politics. We consume it not unlike a soap opera or reality TV show. The nation that once ruled an empire in a good portion of the globe now finds itself utterly absorbed by the rise and fall and gossip related to the main players. And sometimes, though, it is the theatre itself that leads to the drama and the loss of a leader and the resulting political chaos. Consider this. A serving Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, forced from office not for a decision to go to an unwise war, not for policy failure, but ultimately because he ate a slice of birthday cake at a Downing Street party that was a surprise gathering and that lasted only perhaps 10 minutes, albeit in contravention of COVID lockdown rules. Or there's my own fall as leader of the United Kingdom's UK Independence Party, removed not because of something I had said, done or not done, but because my partner at the time had written in a private message to someone else before I had even met her, words that turned out to be quite unwise. These things are presented like a serialised drama novel in a theatre-thirsty press until they reach their tragic but inevitable end, normally the removal and demise of one of the key or the central figure. In Britain, you can be toppled from leadership for eating cake or for somebody else's text messages, whilst somebody like Morgan McSweeney, men who quietly shape elections and determine how we are governed, and indeed by whom, slip past with hardly a second glance from the public or the press. And that's a puzzle. In America, you know the name of your president's strategists. They become celebrities in their own right. They stepped out from the wings and onto the stage, where their actions are rightly under scrutiny. But here in Britain, our political operators lurk in the shadows. Unseen, unknown, and often the public aren't even aware of their existence. Their influence is immense, but their anonymity is nearly total. And so the curious thing about the McSweeney story is not only the allegations themselves, extremely serious though they are, but how little they seem to matter, how little attention they're receiving from the press or from the public. For all the noise we make about trivialities, the figures who truly shape the drama and perhaps feed that drama deliberately through leaks and off-record briefings, remain hidden. Yet the audience remains fascinated by the destruction of the main actors, whilst those directors of the unfolding drama remain unseen and unaccountable. And what does all that say about Britain? Do we simply prefer the theatre to the substance? Do we prefer to slow down and look at the car crash that we're passing, too distracted by the wreck to worry about the danger on the road it caused, and therefore we then drive headlong into another tragedy? Troublingly, whatever the reason is, it seems that people here in Britain, the British, who once ruled a sizable part of the world, have grown accustomed to looking away from the real levers and influences upon power. So, America, as you watch our Prime Minister at the lectern outside number 10 Downing Street, or at some press conference or other, perhaps even standing alongside your own president, remember this. The people who really govern Britain may not be the ones at the microphone. Perhaps we should all, both in the UK and America, pay more attention to the directors of the theatre, of the show, to people like Morgan McSweeney. But there are others. There are men and women who you've never heard of, whose existence you probably know nothing about, yet who shape what happens in the United Kingdom and evade scrutiny. They're able to evade scrutiny because they are not the celebrities. They are not the actors. They work behind the scenes and live in the main dull, unexciting, boring lives. So, as a result of that, the press find them uninteresting and the public, therefore, are unaware of them. Perhaps I can leave you with this question, though. Have the headline writers conditioned us all to enjoy the spectacle, the theatre, and the drama that surrounds the fate of the central players, the central actors, rather than to pay attention to the substance and what really matters? Good night.
That was Letter to America by Henry Bolton. For further episodes, please follow or subscribe. Thank you.